You got it.
It finally got like really cold this week.
Yes,
Like,
this was
all
like
of a
legitimately
sudden,
cold.
it was really cold.
Yeah, and that's why like. Actually, let me ask. How we temperature? Good, good, comfortable. Comfortable. Good. That's what we're shooting for. Shooting for comfortable. But let me tell you, I walked around trying to get readings. Every different part of this room has a different temperature.
Well, that's perfect because then people can move depending on how they're feeling.
I like that idea. Maybe everybody starts dancing, right? They'll find their way. All right. Was there anything else other than following this?
I don't think so.
Yeah. No, but how did you pick any melody you want? Closing, beginning, whatever you want. Whatever you want. All right. Let's see. Okay. That's good. Very good.
Yes, I did on Monday. No sparks, but we're friends, and so I could definitely get him to come here. No, we would definitely. I don't know if I'd have him stay with me. That would be a little weird.
That would be a little much.
But no, he would definitely.
I think that would be a really
Try to keep it on good terms.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No. I think that's good. But like I said, my main thing is just for you. I just want nothing but happiness. That's all. All right. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
All right. Look what we have back. We have Emma back. Yeah. That's
You guys
exactly.
are too nice to me.
No, we're not at all. Not even close. We're just genuine in expressing how much we are happy to have you when
I'm
you
glad
are here.
to be back.
Good. And, extra credit to all of you for braving the cold. This is always an impressive thing to me, when people are here in this kind of temperature. I know. Reminds me of my days in Madison, Wisconsin. This was pretty much every day from October until May. That was
wow.
essentially it. Yeah, it was you made decisions. I made decisions about what classes I took based on, how far I had to go, how much up a hill I had to go when it was snowing, things like that. It will affect your life in lots of ways, but I very much. If there's one thing I can tell you about me, it is very much that. Anyway, so we're going to, in a moment, get started with our service and ask Anne to light our candles. But while she is coming up, we'll take a moment, wish each other a Shabbat Shalom. Okay, turn around, especially if you're welcoming, new people. Hi, guys. Welcome. All right, and we're on page 120.
Yeah.
We have to do something about our oil licks.
Oh, there we go. All right.
Yeah, nope, there we go. Amen. Thank you, Anne. And we'll turn now to page 130 as we begin Kabbalat Shabbat together toward the very top of the page.
Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladonai. Naria, litzor yishenu neka.
We'll turn now to page 131.
Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai, baruchu shemo, basru miyom leyom yeshuato, safru v'goyim kevodo, v'chol ha'amim nifleotav, ki gadol Adonai, umehulal meod, norahu, al kol Elohim, ay, shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai, baruchu shemo, basru miyom leyom yeshuato.
We turn now to the bottom of page 132, or Zarua.
Or zarua latzadik, uleishrei lev simcha. Or zarua latzadik, uleishrei lev simcha. Simchu tzadikim b'Adonai, ve'hodu lezecher kodsho. Simchu tzadikim b'Adonai, ve'hodu lezecher kodsho.
We turn to the top of page 134.
Zamru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra, bechatzotzrot v'kol shofar. Hari lifnei hamelech Adonai. Yiram hayom umlaot, tevel v'yoshveiva, neharot yimcha uchav yochad, harim yiranenu, lifnei Adonai kiva, lishpot haaretz, yishpot tevel b'tzedek, ve'amim b'meisharim. Yiram hayam umlaot, tevel v'yoshveiva, neharot yimcha uchav yochad, harim yiranenu.
We're now on page 135, the last Hebrew paragraph just in the middle of the page.
Romenu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu lechar kodsho. Romenu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu lechar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romenu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romenu. Romenu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu lechar kodsho. Romenu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu
Lehar Kodsho.
We'll turn now to the 29th Psalm on page 136. Mizmor leDavid, Havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim, Havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz, Havu l'Adonai kevod shemo, Ishtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh, Kol Adonai hamayim, El hakavod hirim, Adonai al-mayim rabim, Adonai al-mayim rabim, Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover harazim, Vaishaber Adonai et arze halvanon, Vayarkideim kemo egel, Levanon v'Sirion, kemo ben re'emim, kemo ben re'emim. Kol Adonai chotzev l'havotesh, Kol Adonai yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai echolel ayalot, Vayechesov ye'arot, Uvechalot kulo merkavot, kulo merkavot, kulo merkavot. Adonai lamabu yashav, Vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. We'll turn to L'Chadodi on page 138. We'll do the first, second, fifth, and ninth paragraphs, and we'll rise for the final paragraph, again, through the doors we just walked through just a few moments ago.
Lecha dodi likrat kalai alalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kalai alalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmi'anu el ha-meyuchad, Adonai echad, Ushmo echad, L'shemo tiferet ve'letila. Lecha dodi likrat kalai alalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kalai alalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, ki hi mekor haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha dodi likrat kalai alalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kalai alalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, ki va'orech kumi ori, uri כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יללי, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יללי, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, יללי, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יללי, 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 פני שבת נקבלה.
Please be seated as we're turning to page 140, Tzadik Katamar, just where the Hebrew indents in the middle of the page.
צדיק התמר יפרח, כרז בלבנון ישגה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו, עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי, ולא עוולתה בו.
We'll rise in body or spirit for the Chatzi Kaddish on page 144. Remain standing for the Baruch Hu on the next page. Yitkadal vehitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'al mahad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'chayei lechol Beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uvizman kari veimeru.
Amen.
Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach, le'alam le'alam maya yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudsha
Brichu.
Leila min kol birchata v'shirata
Tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma.
v'yimeru.
Amen.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Please be seated. We'll turn now to page 148, and we'll read together in English toward the very bottom of the page. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening.
Umavir yom umhevi laila, umavdil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shemo.
Hamari v'aravi.
Amen. Turn now to page 150.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limad לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו, ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו, ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם ולילה, נגי יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
Please join us on page 154. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Let's read together now on the top of page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. As we turn to page 158. נורא תהילות אוסף אלם, נורא תהילות אוסף אלם. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים. זה לי ענו ואמרו, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כפרת יעקב גלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני Baruch Shemo.
גאל ישראל.
Amen. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Hashkivenu is on the top of page 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom vehamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom vehamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Ushmor tzitenu uvoenu lechaim shalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom vehamidenu shomreinu lechaim.
Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Yerushalayim. We turn to the top of page 162.
V'shameru v'nei Israel et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ay, beini uvein bnei Israel oti olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz uvayom hashvi'i shavat vayinafash.
Invite us now to rise in body or spirit as we begin the Amidah together on page 164. From that point on, we'll continue silently. As always, please go at your own pace. When you're finished at the end, if you're still standing, you may be seated. Adonai sefatai titafu fi agite ilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
פתח ליבי בתורתך, פתח ליבי בתורתך, ובמצוותיך, ובמצוותיך, תרדוף, תרדוף נפשי, עשה למען שמך, עשה למען ימינך, עשה למען קדושתך, עשה למען תורתך, יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון, ליבי לפניך, ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי וגואלי.
We'll turn now to page 371 as we offer our Misha Berach, our healing prayer for this evening. Tonight in our community, we're thinking of Madeline Egelfeld, Abigail Blum, Kate Sherwood, Herman Gould, Aimee and Warren Cass, Rivka Bat Rachel, Lorraine Danis, David Dowling, Sibi Devora Bat Francis, Shelley Newmark, Diane Axelrod, Gabriella Spicer, David Kyle Klotman, Lorraine Davis, Kim Birnbaum, Deborah Block-Kroll, Sylvia Orn, Rachel Bat Ora, Peretz Ben Shlomo, Israel Ben Yitzchak, Jill Fagan, Mort and Judy, Ava Bat Helena, and Yoel Ben Rina Be'avraham. In addition to those names that I just shared, if you're thinking of anyone this evening who's in need of healing, we'll start on this side of the room and then work towards the rear and then this side. And if you have names to share, just please raise a hand so we don't miss anyone.
Dana Rubin, Eileen Silver, and Rachel Bat Chaya. Emily Kutesh. Maurice Otola.
Jackie Manuel, Donnie Hesford, Kimberly Espinoza, Chris Hubbard, Linda Lanigan, and Toledo.
Rick Gold, the Conlon family, Shamila Cohen Gold, all beings suffering.
Roy Tempowski and Roberto, Howie Morell, Ina, Maureen Kenny, Mario, Audrey Tempowski, Diane Schwartz, Honey Rodman, Warren, Meredith Berger, Dottie, Kevin Major, Adrian Berger, Kathy Gray, Susan Barron, Joelle, Anna Senior, Joe O'Hare, Maddie Posnick, David Dennisburg.
Barry Katayev.
Linda Shapiro, and also Tess Buchanan.
We'll invite our friends watching at home to add the names of your loved ones as well, and we'll join together in the middle of page 371 as we sing our Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We offer our our prayer for Israel on page 377. Avinu Shabashamayim Tzur Yisrael v'goalo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu. Hagen aleha be'evrat chastecha, ufros aleha sukat shlomecha. Ushlach orcha v'amitcha l'rasheha, sareha v'yoatzeha. V'taknem be'etzat tova milfanecha, v'natata shalom ba'aretz, v'simchat olam liyoshveha, v'nomar amen. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love, spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there, and together we say,
Amen.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right, so I'm going to teach you a little bit about Parshat Vayishlach, our Torah portion for this week. If you'd like, you don't have to, but if you'd like, in your pews, there are 2 copies of a Chumash you can take out if you'd like. Helpful for one reason, because I want to draw our attention to one word in this week's Parsha. I'm going to make a whole drasha out of one word, and not just that one word, but a bunch of dots above that one word. So bonus points, you get an aliyah tomorrow if you can get to the page number faster. We're looking for Genesis chapter 33, verse 4. I'm not going to put this on Emma. Emma's usually very good on Saturday morning. She's already got the pages ready to go. So we're going to test everybody's nimble fingers, okay? Genesis chapter 33, verse 4. Okay, otherwise, not an innocuous verse. If I did nothing else but told you about this one verse in its context, it would be meaningful. Okay, what is taking place here is the coming back together of 2 brothers who began their story and their life literally wrestling with each other in utero. 33:4. 33:4. And so Esav and Jacob, we got 222 in the Plot Chumash. Anybody with the women's commentary? We'll get there. Okay. This should be part of our regular practice here now that I see this. We should get everybody used to, Friday night crew doesn't always see, right, the Chumash in the same way. Okay, but very important moment. Okay, Esav and Jacob, and I'll save you a little bit of textual work. Needless to say, the coming back together of these brothers after all the years, after a stolen birthright, after all manner of things said and done, is one filled with trepidation. Okay, Jacob is deeply concerned about what his brother Esav is going to do, not just because his nature is one that we are told is one of a, let's say, more aggressive nature, more warlike nature, but because he, in fact, at this point is a chieftain with, I think it's 500 people running before him. That's a way of basically saying he has a fairly large army for the time period. Jacob has lots of stuff. What he does not have is an army. Okay, so he doesn't know what's going to happen, and they see each other at a distance, and then we see in this one verse what happens. Esav, we're told Vayarotz, that he runs to greet his brother Jacob. He embraces him, and then falling upon his neck, he kisses him, and then together they weep. Simple, easy reading of the text, very straightforward. Okay, it should be in our minds, right, a mental image of something that we don't see very often in history. We see even less today, right, which is 2 people with reason to hate each other coming together, hugging each other, embracing, and crying about it afterwards. Okay, this one pasuk of the Torah, if this was the only pasuk that we studied, could change the entire world just by the nature of what it represents, right? 2 brothers who once hated each other embracing again. Never quite so simple as that, though, right? The rabbi has to have something to talk about. So you may notice in your book, you should see it, if you have it in front of you, if you have it at home, if you're looking in the Torah itself, almost towards the very end of the verse in Hebrew, even if you can't read Hebrew at all, you will notice something very unusual. Okay? Vayisha kehu, above that word you see what? Dots. How many dots? This is a trick question, just to tell you. Okay? So the tricky part of the dots is that one of those dots is there because it's part of the letter. The other dots, though, this is a total mystery. Why would this appear? And I will tell you it's even more mysterious because it doesn't just appear in your Chumash. As I said, it appears in every single Torah scroll that is of a kosher nature anywhere in the world. If you open up to this verse, you will find this word, and above this word, you will find these mysterious dots. Now, why is that so unusual? Does anybody know?
Maybe it's a typo.
We'll get to that in a second. Very interesting. A typo. I love that. Also, that the wordplay on that. Any other things strike us? Anybody that's spent any time in front of a Torah scroll, not the Chumash, but a Torah scroll, what is absent from the Hebrew? Even if you don't know anything about Hebrew, vowels, right? Not just vowels. Trope, the thing that cantors, rabbis, when we read from the Torah, whoever's reading from the Torah, we have to memorize those. Okay, they're not there in front of us. It doesn't make it easy. Okay, so there's something very strange about these dots. So here a little bit of explanation. We'll get a little bit deeper. So this comes from Breshit Rabbah. This is one of the great collections of Midrash. And so it says as follows. Esav ran to greet him. Okay, this is the verse from our Torah. He embraced Yaakov, falling on his neck. He kissed him, and they wept. Okay. The word Vayishakehu, the word kissed, is dotted, as we see, above each letter in the Torah's writing. This is important. Okay, there's a dot above each and every one of the letters in this. And we're told that Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, one of the great rabbis of history, said that in every place where you find a lot of text, but with few dots on top, you need to interpret the dots. Okay, just stick with me for a second. This makes very little sense, but it will. Okay, when you find a lot of dots on top of a few words, you interpret the words. Here, neither is the case. Okay, now what is being described here? So there are a few places, right, in which the dots will appear, and they are exactly the same number, right, as the word itself, the number of letters in the word. Some cases there is less than, some cases there is more. This is the one place where it happens, where it's on each of the letters there is a dot. Okay, so what is this ultimately teaching us? It teaches us that Esav was overcome with compassion in that moment, and so he kisses Yaakov with all his heart. Okay, so the dots are really telling us that this was a very special, very genuine kiss. He's overwhelmed. This is from the perspective of Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. Okay, but classic example of rabbis, one idea, many opinions, not everybody's opinion. Okay, one paints it as genuine love, genuine embrace, genuine overwhelm, all those great things. Okay, but his contemporary, Rabbi Yanai, says back to him, well, if so, okay, why would this be dotted, right? If the straightforward meaning of the text is what's taking place here, what would be the need of the dots? In other words, if you translate the verse exactly as it lies, this is exactly what it says. Okay, they embraced each other, they kissed each other, and they cried. There would be no intention for there to be dots. There'd be no purpose for it. It wouldn't be telling us anything new. So what is it actually telling us, according to Rabbi Yanai? Some of you may know this teaching. On the contrary, it teaches that Esav came not to kiss Yaakov, but to bite him. Okay? But our ancestor Yaakov's neck became like marble, and the wicked man's teeth were blunted. Okay? Hence, and they wept, the end of the parsha, teaches that Yaakov wept because of his neck, and Esav wept because of his teeth. Okay, so first of all, great just wordplay of the rabbis long time before. Okay, lovely. Okay, but here you have classic disagreement, right? Mysterious word appears. Either it means what it says it means, or it means something different, right? And in this case, not just something different, something entirely different. Okay, and that the crying is not a genuine crying of emotional release or catharsis. It is a crying because of a magical instance in which, right, a person tries to bite another person and they blunt their teeth because it magically becomes so. Now, I'll save you a little bit of additional historical work, but basically the idea of the dots is that it is implying in some form or the other a reading of the text that is not obvious, a reading of the text that isn't necessarily there. That's the crux of Rabbi Yanai's retort. He says, if this was just a plain situation, a plain, obvious situation, there's no need for the dots to teach us that that's what's happening. The only reason why it could appear is to teach us this extreme opposite position. Esav is actually a monster. He's a monster from the day he's born. He's a monster until this very moment. Everything that the text is describing is veneer. The truth is that he was waiting for his opportunity, and Bram Stoker's Dracula took it, and if he had been able to do it without God's intervention, who knows, right? Jacob may not exist. We would not be talking to each other. Okay, so it's a little bit of a problematic read, to say the very least, not least of which because it creates an image in our minds, generations later, of who Esav is and locks him into that mentality for the rest of his life. It also is dangerous because it does what the rabbis often do, which is it creates a binary. Right? It's either this or it's that. Okay, but it's not necessarily quite so simple as that. So there is a teaching, and this is, I wish I had hours to teach this because it's fascinating, but there is a teaching of a sort of a Hasidic view on all of this. Okay? And it says as follows. It's not necessarily that it was one extreme or the other, but rather something in between. Not only, it says, did Jacob survive his ordeal with Esav, the whole thing actually transformed Esav in the process. Whereas Esav had previously wished to kill Jacob, he ran towards him to hug and kiss him. This albeit temporary reconciliation between Jacob and Esau was a monumental spiritual event which formed the foundation upon which the work of permanently transforming something like this relationship of animosity, of true hatred, could take place. So what is that, they say? The two accounts of Esau's sentiments while kissing Jacob correspond to two methods and stages by which a conflict can be resolved. In the first stage, it remains crude. One goes through the motions of, quote, kissing Jacob, but without their heart in it. In the second stage, one's very nature is transformed, and one becomes refined, and he, quote, kisses Jacob wholehearted. So what is the distinction and what is the nuance of this reading? It's suggesting that we read this not necessarily as one extreme or the other. Esau is this way or Esau is that way. We read this actually as a much more complex human interaction, in which Esau actually comes into it angry still, and with the intention of biting his brother and doing harm to him. Okay, he goes through the motions of, quote, kissing his brother, but his heart's not in it. Okay, but as time goes by and as the relationship develops, and eventually, as we see, it really does sort of smooth out a bit, and towards the end, there's another reconciliation after another death, we see something else, which is the opportunity for this person and this conflict, which could have gone on in perpetuity, to be given a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of space, not asking anybody to be disingenuous, not asking Esau to be forgiving of what his brother did to him, not asking everybody to simply hold hands and kumbaya their way out, but it's talking about a scenario in which people sometimes start out in a place that's very far away from where they end up. Sometimes you have to go through that motion, hugging that person you can't stand, shaking hands with somebody with whom you had a real disagreement, not because you've forgiven each other, not because everything is perfect, not because what happened didn't happen, but because things like conflict resolution have to begin somewhere. And even if everybody is not 100% on board, we have to give the space for that to eventually develop. And I think we find ourselves in a place like that right now, in which so much damage has been done, so much anger exists, so many lives lost, so much destruction taken place, that the very thought or the very idea of even beginning to reconcile that reality, especially with those that we perceive to be or have demonstrably said they are our enemies, we immediately close a door on a potential. We immediately close our door and we create basically the guarantee of a recurrence of a cycle. The story of Esau and Jacob may seem distant, it may seem about one family. It is that, but it's also paradigmatic. It is also a teaching from the very beginnings of our people about the idea of shalom, about wholeness, which leads to peace. Okay? We do not have, while we may think we do, right, we don't have some Pollyannish view of what that means. I think actually the stories of the Torah tell us that it's never that simple. Okay? If it was that simple, God would simply come down and say, make peace and be done with it. The human element plays out in these stories time and time again. But the one guarantee of a disastrous end is the one that believes that there can never be a reconciliation, that there is no possibility, and there is no hope, and there is no future. It is the only guarantee that we will never make it beyond the terrible experiences that we have in each and every successive generation. And this story, and the reason why it is both opportunity and danger, is what the rabbis do with these mysterious dots. I'll save you the hour-long explanation of the Masoretes and how we get, all the things that we take for granted now, like vowels and trope marks, and the things in the Torah that help us to read it and to understand it. Wasn't always the case. The dots are a remnant of a group of people who kept it in for a reason, and they kept it in because there's something about this word and this circumstance that is not normal. It is not obvious. It can't be read in such a simple way. It requires greater explanation. It requires greater thought. But for the rabbis who destined Esau to being a never-ending, never-changing monster, who is incapable of forgiveness or being forgiven, who paint him into a certain kind of corner, the danger of that rabbinic mindset is that transfers over time. And it becomes all the more dangerous when a character like Esau becomes associated with entire groups of people and generations in the future. the impact can be much greater than I think the rabbis ever would have intended it to be. So when we read a text like this, when we consider a character like Esav, when we see complexity, the beauty of these dots is it gives us space to live and to play in that complexity. As silly as it is to think that 5 dots, which could have been I don't know what the scribal equivalent is of a typo, right? Some mistake by somebody that then carried on for generations. The rabbis give us meaning. They give us, as I said, an opportunity for discourse and discussion, for considering what is this story really about and why this word matters so much. And I like to think that for myself, the takeaway isn't, again, about either extreme. Not that he is fully, right, embracing and loving of his brother, neither is he a vampiric monster. But actually, what he is a human being going through ranges of emotion. Okay, that he comes into that, as Jacob comes into that, unsure of who his brother is at this point, and what is the nature of their coming back together, and should they be afraid of each other. Both of them come into it very real, very honest, very open. The key difference is when we ourselves ascribe unto others an emotional perspective or a thought process without ever having a way of knowing what it is that person really was thinking or really was doing. So if we can't know for sure, rather than take one extreme or the other, let us take the space, the wide space in the middle, which is to acknowledge 2 human beings who've gone through quite a lot, who've hurt each other and been hurt, and who have decided, despite all of the warning signs, all of the reasons why, to run the other direction, to pick up the sword and to kill each other, to steal each other's possessions, why the situation and the story doesn't end that way. It's because both of these brothers, amidst all of their complicated emotions and history, decide in that moment that the most important thing that they can do is to embrace each other as brothers, to hug each other, to kiss each other, and to cry for the pain. And then to say goodbye and to go their way. It's a countercultural story when you think about it. And if the entire purpose of this story had just been to teach us that Esav is a monster, it could have been a lot shorter and we wouldn't have needed dots. So for that, I am grateful, and I hope tonight we will think of everybody in this story perhaps a little differently than we did walking in the door. Shabbat Shalom. Okay, we'll turn back to our Sidurim, our prayer books, to page 586. And we will rise in body or spirit, Aleinu l'shabeach, toward the very bottom of the page. Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon HaKol, Latet Gedula liotzer Breshit, Shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, Velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, Shelo sam chelkenu kahem, Vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, V'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Page 591. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz Bayom hahu Ni'eh Adonai echad U'shemo echad. I'll ask those in mourning and those observing yard site to please remain standing. Everyone else may be seated at this time. We think of first of those who passed in our community in recent months: Stephen Dickman, Michael Fagenbaum, Sharon Lee Goldblatt, Harry Heller, Danny Horowitz, David Carlin, Morris Kramer, Leonard Lauder, Jeanette Meyerowitz, Carol Nadell, Perry Ranon, Gloria Sapiro, Edward Schiff, Luis Silberman, and Sue Wartor. We also mark the yard sites that occurred during the last week for Samuel Abderkin, Marion Bach, Joan Barron, Felix Berg, Ariel Cherish, Isidore Cohen, Leonard Davis, Sylvia Dornfeld, Ernst Gross, Henry Gross, Tessie Heller, Violet Hillel, Jeannie Katz, David Levine, Joshua Levine, Edward Massoff, Alvin Rossick, Hilda Ruby, Bob Schneider, Ruth Schatz, Philip Siegel, Julie Sloan, Evelyn Steinberg, Milton Strasser, Max Waldman, and Joseph Yanovich. In addition to those names that I just shared, is anyone saying Kaddish for anyone we didn't mention? I'll invite our friends watching at home to add the names of your loved ones. I'll invite the mourners to join me on page 598. If it's your custom to rise alongside them, you may do so at this time. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael ba'galav v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach la'alam u'li'almei almaya. V'yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may every one of their memories be for a blessing.
Amen.
Please be seated. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Okay, so a few announcements. First is to please join us, and I'm just reading this off the list, for our Mexican oneg, which is fascinating because it's the second time we've had food from Cilantro's up the street. So yeah, no, like this is all Shelly. You all have to thank Shelly. She puts real thought into the food that we are eating. And, you know, as much as we all love gefilte fish and all those things, you know, sometimes it's nice to have something a little bit different. So please join us for some yummy food next door. And please join us also for services tomorrow morning beginning at 10 o'clock, followed by our Kiddush, and then Torah study beginning at 12 o'clock. Tomorrow being the first Shabbat of the month, we are honored to have Margaret Bromberg using the Torah Women's Commentary to teach our Torah study from Jerusalem, from
how
Israel.
great. Amazing.
It won't probably be Shabbat for her anymore, so it's all the more amazing. But the wonders of technology and the wonders of Margaret, so it's great. And anybody who's had the chance of learning with Margaret over the years knows this is a great opportunity to learn some Torah. So we hope that you will join us either in person or on Zoom. Also, to mark a few other things, Monday, a pretty regular week. My Zionism class at 10 o'clock on Zoom. Nina Mitzvah at 10:30, Hebrew School at 3:30, and then 7 o'clock later that evening, virtual Musar with Myra. There is no current events discussion group this week. Thursday at 9:30, we could always use some help setting up for our Hanukkah party. Volunteers are welcome. We'll also be setting up again on Saturday at 2 o'clock. Please let Shelley know if you can lend a hand. And speaking of parties, Hanukkah party, Sunday, December 14th, beginning here at the temple at 3:30 and going until 5:30. This, again, is a intergenerational, multi-generational party designed for everybody. We'll have food, we'll have activities, we have a magician, all sorts of great things. And then we will go right from here. Party will end at 5:30. We'll go right to the wharf so that we're ready to light our Chanukiah in town at 6 o'clock. It's one of those rare years where it works out this way, and it's a lot of fun. So please, please, please come for as much of it as you can, and especially when we get to the wharf. As I said, you know, these days it's just great for lots of reasons, just to be together and to be out there and hoping for good weather, but, you know, all those good things. And we appreciate all the help that's already come in and all the things that will come going forward. Also, Wednesday, December 17th at 5 o'clock, we have, I believe it's the first official meeting of the Dor Chadash 20s, 30s group that will be having a latke cook-off. And it will be judged by Chef Jason from Almond's Restaurant. So those that know Almond and know Jason, he takes his stuff very seriously. So this is going to be a great opportunity for our young group to take off. So if you know anybody interested in joining that group, please do let us know. And also, while we are sad we won't have Emma with us, through her help, we're going to have a wonderful musical Shabbat during Hanukkah. It's going to begin with a pre-Kabbalat Shabbat musical concert on Friday, December 19th at 5:15, followed by wine and cheese reception before services and then services after. And Gail is shaking her head at that piece. Yeah, Gail, yes.
Gail and Emma.
Yes, Gail and, oh, no, of course. More the question of, is the 5:15 thing that works, right? That works, absolutely. And Gail, thank you for helping to not just arrange for all of our wonderful musicians, but for helping to organize this and for leading our rehearsals. And you have to tell me when I needed for that piece of it, because I imagine some of that's coming up. But we also have some guests that have grown up in our congregation who will be helping us to play some of that music, I believe. So it's a great thing all around and a great way for us to keep that wonderful feeling of Hanukkah going all the way through. So please join us for all those things. Now, last words before we conclude and go next door. Potluck. It's not. I read the list. You got to talk to Shelley. Absolutely. Potluck dinner that will follow that evening. It's going to be a very busy evening, but please come and please bring food and please let Andrea know that you're bringing a vegetarian dish that serves 6 to 8 people. Okay, two other very quick things, very important. Our holiday toy drive, there should be flyers over there. There's a receptacle where you can drop them off, donate gifts or gift cards for a child in need this holiday season. I would suggest $25 as a general range of where to spend. Please, though, sign up using the sign-up sheet through the e-blast. Make sure that we know so we don't end up with lots of duplicates of things. The drop-off times are clearly indicated, so please bring those when you can. And also, as I said, just please take a flyer with you, Hanukkah party, share it with friends, open to all. Hope that you will join us. And yeah, I think that's everything. It's a long list of stuff.
Great.
Emma, something to end our service with tonight, and then we'll go.
How do you feel
Kiddush?
about Shalom Aleichem?
I love Shalom Aleichem.
Page 627. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharit, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Mi melech malachi hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Mi melech malachi hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Mi melech malachi hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Please write for Kiddush on page 123. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratza b'hanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava u'v'ratzon inchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. היבנו ובחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen.
Chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Please come next door.
Challah with salsa.
Challah with
Challah with
salsa.
salsa.
Actually, that works very well. Challah with guacamole, even better.
Salsa. Is it raisin challah tonight?
Yeah, the sort of mysterious raisin challah.
Interesting.
I know, but they never quite sure when they appear. And then often there's one in the
That's funny.
so
It's like a guess the challah flavor.
guess the challah flavor. I could go in bad directions though.
That it could.
It's
Or
like
it could go
that-
in good directions.
Yeah, no, for sure. But it's like the Harry Potter thing, right?
With the every
But
flavor
yeah,
beans.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think I want that flavor.
Exactly.
I'm not-
I know. Remember,
thrilled with it.
they made those like a real version.
I
of
heard that
those?
they rated those. I just thought like the idea that there
Bean
was
Boozled.
somebody whose job was to test that.
Yeah, like how do you
Like,
know
how do you get-
what like
I don't.
certain things taste like?
That's what I'm saying. At some point, you hope that that really was just some guess,
Right.
and it
It
wasn't
was probably
actually.
based on smell, maybe.
One would hope.